Welcome everybody. This is a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of people here. We were expecting 50 or 60 people, and clearly the turnout is a lot better than that. Thank you for being here for Mom. I think she would have been really, really happy to see all of you here today. Unfortunately, she probably didn't have enough time at the end to see everybody during her last while, but thank you for showing your respects by coming here today. We really appreciate it as family. Today was spoken about. Fortunately, when we're given this type of time with someone at their end, you can speak about inevitabilities, you can speak about the future. And Mom and I ended up chatting a fair amount about what was going to happen today and what she wanted to happen. And I think that's very important, is what she wanted us to do today. Today is going to be a joyous and happy occasion. She did not want a somber mood. She did not want people crying. She did not want all the negative or the dreary side of things to happen. She wanted everybody to be happy, laughing, and celebrating her life. And if we can stick to that, I'm going to certainly try and do my part. I don't know how long it will last, but bear with me. I don't think Lee's going to come. We'll see. I just want to keep you informed of what's happening here. The toilets are at the back there. If the toilets are very busy, because they might get busy. In the club, there are toilets as well, so we can use those facilities as well. The drinks, Mom was very specific. This is not to be a dry occasion. We must be happy, we must be merry, we must all have a drink or 15 on her. And so whatever you guys fancy or whatever you want, please order it from the waitress, Gabby. She'll help us with everything. Mom wanted to make sure that we provided enough for everybody to be happy. Okay. The other thing that was important was that her wine gets served. You'll see in the back there's Miss Lucy from Springfield. That was her favorite wine. And we've supplied enough so that anybody who wants to see what Dora's tasting wine was, that was it. When it runs out, we'll order something else from the bar. It doesn't matter. Okay. But there is Springfield Miss Lucy, because that's what she wanted. The other very important part about any sort of death memorial celebration is that you have to have egg mayonnaise sandwiches. Any of these events without egg mayonnaise sandwiches, unfortunately, we have to reclassify. They don't count. So there are egg mayonnaise sandwiches. That was definitely on Mom's list. And if I can just have one request from everyone, just leave me some, okay? We're going to have a PowerPoint or a slideshow running with pictures of Mom and nostalgic events that happened through her life, from young to current day. And enjoy them. I think you might recognize a few faces in there. We didn't, unfortunately, get photos of everybody with Mom. I think that was difficult. And so enjoy what you see, and let's just remember Mom the way she was. She always had a sarcastic or funny comment about everything. And I think you'll see it in the pictures as well. There was always some sort of other moment involved. On a day like this, we're going to start off with some opening scripture. Mom's religious views were her own. Her spiritualness was very close to her heart, and she certainly didn't speak about it very much. But certainly in the end, Mom and I did have a chat about a few things. We even had the Catholic priest come to give her the blessing of the sick, which was absolutely unique, and she told him straight away, do not give me communion, I will not be having that. So he gave her the anointment of the sick, and that was very special for her, and I think it was a good step in the right direction for her in terms of when she wanted to go. Auntie Marlene, Mom's biggest and longest friend, Shando, that's a shot. Mom's biggest and longest friend, Auntie Marlene over here, was Mom's spiritual basis, and everything spiritually that was involved. Marlene was always our North Pole when it came to that. Everything, Marlene was driven with the religious side of things. And we're going to ask Auntie Marlene to open up with scripture and a reading or two, and just a little testimony about her relationship with Mom and what was happening. Thank you, Auntie Marlene. Appreciate it.
I'd like to start off with a reading from Psalm 103. The Lord does righteous deeds, brings justice to all the oppressed. His ways were revealed to Moses, mighty deeds to the people of Israel. Merciful and gracious is the Lord, slow to anger, abounding in kindness. God does not always rebuke, nurses no lasting anger, has not dealt with us as our sins merit, nor requited us as our deeds deserve. Our days are like the grass, like flowers of the field. We blossom. The wind sweeps over us, and we are gone. Our place knows us no more. But the Lord's kindness is forever towards the faithful from age to age. And another reading from the Gospel of John. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I no longer call you slaves, because a slave does not know what his master is doing. I have called you friends, because I have told you everything I have heard from my Father. It was not you who chose me, but I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit that will remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. This I command you, love one another. And a further reading from 1 John. See what love the Father has bestowed on us, that we may be called children of God, yet so we are. The reason the world does not know us is that they did not know him. Beloved, we are God's children now. What we shall be has not been revealed. We do not know that when it is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he really is. A little reflection on my dearest friend. We were friends for 50 years, and we really knew each other. We loved each other. We never had one harsh word with each other in those 50 years. In sad moments, go ahead and cry, so long as your weeping is trustful, because the tears that God allows to flow are a prelude to the torrents of delight that will submerge you. Dora was special. S, saved by Jesus Christ. P, precious in God's eyes. E, enfolded in the embrace of the Heavenly Father. C, cherished by God. I, incredibly gifted by the Holy Spirit. A, abundantly blessed in abilities and potential. And L, loved unconditionally by God. Why do we need a best friend? Because they laugh at the same stupid things that we do. Because they give us honest advice. Because they will be there for us even if they are thousands of miles away. Because they celebrate with us when we are at our best, but still love us at our worst. And lastly, I want to share with you the miracle of friendship. There is a miracle called friendship that dwells within the heart, and you don't know how it happens or when it gets its start. But the happiness it brings you always gives a special lift, and you realize that friendship is God's most precious gift. As I said, Dora and I were friends for many, many years. We could chat at anything, chat about everything, and there wasn't a week that went past that we didn't phone each other and have a chat. In the last 9 years that we've been in Bradpan, if I didn't phone her, she would phone me, but we would speak to each other at least twice a week. And our dearest communal little friend was our little Daisy May, her little Jack Russell. Whenever I went to visit to visit Dora, Daisy would share that love that we had for each other and sleep with us on the bed, because I shared the bed with Dora. As we used to say, we would cook sister. And during the night it would get chilly and in would come Daisy. She would tuck in here and creep down to the bottom, either by our knees or by our backs. And then when it came to the time where she needed looking after and caring, she didn't want me to stay in the bed with her. She said, no, I must rather sleep comfortably. So I slept in the lounge on the settee, which was so comfortable. And she'd go off to bed with Dora. And during the night, early hours of the morning, Madam would come to me, and in she would call. Some days I would pick her up and say, go back to Mommy, go back to Mommy. But she's just the most adorable, loving part of Dora that I have now, because I have adopted her. And she's so at home with me, and we had a great time together. We really do. I will miss my dear Dora very, very much. I'm sure all of you will.
Thank you. Today we're gathering to honor my mom, Dorothy Duddy. She was born on the 17th of September 1949 in Turfentine, in a private nursing home. Now, in those days, a lot of the younger women, when they had babies, would not go to a hospital, they'd go to a nursing home or a private home where they would deliver their children. She was the younger sister to her big brother Fred, and Fred's eldest son is here today, and Fred's wife Pat is here today, and we thank him for coming all the way from Durban. Fred was the mentor in our family. He was the mensch, he was the old man, and he really was a big influence in all of our lives growing up. She grew up in a spirited, adventurous way, and her school years took her from Voorbrand Laerskool to Middelburg Laerskool. There she moved on to Die Fakkel Hoërskool. And then she made it to Afrikaans Hoër Handelsskool, where she did her secretarial courses, and from there she went to work. To our surprise, Mom actually decided to do a diploma in corporate law. This was at the age of 50. Wow, we couldn't believe she was actually going to take it on, but wow, did she take it on, eh? She studied harder than all of us put together, and she graduated with her diploma, and she was so chuffed with herself, and we were so chuffed with her. It was really excellent to see that she would apply herself in that way in her job environment as well. At the age of 18, she met my dad, Basil, and together they built a family. In 1969, they were married in the Germiston Catholic Church. 2 years later, Lee came into their lives. A mistake. But clearly it brought a little bit of joy. In 1973, my mom's greatest blessing arrived. I was born and I remained the favorite. The earlier years were initially spent in Kibler Park, where they built a house. A couple of years in Knysna, where I was born, and before moving to Johannesburg, where she lived in Rosettenville and later the Hill. And in 2000, she made the bold move to move away and leave me, and move to a place where she wouldn't tell me the address for 3 years, so that I wouldn't follow. She moved to Montgomery Park, where she spent the rest of her life, and she was there just about till the end. Mom moved in with me at the last bit so that we could look after her, and that she could be with her people, which was really fantastic. Over the years, Mom had many jobs and many roles, starting off with her first job being as a typist at Mill Park Hospital. I didn't know this. I found out on the hospital bed while I was interviewing her. She later went on to work for a couple of companies like Tobacco & Co. They were accountants, I think. Coopers and Librand, also an auditing firm. And ultimately landed up with KPMG, where she spent a number of years, actually many, many years. She showed us what hard work and perseverance could achieve. Her diploma in corporate law was utilized in her role at KPMG, and her KPMG years were her best working years. A number of people today are from KPMG, and I thank you all for coming and attending. Mom would have been very, very happy to see you all here, and again, thank you. She retired in 2014 at the age of 65. Is that right? Yeah, 65. She traveled with friends and family a little bit, seeing a lot of our nature's best that there's to offer in South Africa. She went to the Kruger Park, she went up to Botswana, and her time was really filled with a lot of things that she would enjoy. She didn't take that many trips because each trip took so long to plan. Mom was a planner, and you better believed if you were getting together on the weekend, you would have 16 calls about the menu. In this time, she spent our inheritance. Except for 6 bottles of Miss Lucy. Please leave some, I want to take some afterwards. We loved seeing her enjoy her life post-retirement, and it was great that she could travel and do a few things that she really enjoyed. Mom became Granny D in 2002, and from there on she had the joy of watching her beautiful grandchildren grow. First Meg, and later my other daughters Amy and Holly, as well as my niece Lila. They brought her a lot of happiness. She was an interesting granny, encouraging their belief in fairies, attending their school plays and dances where she could, and celebrating every achievement, big or small, whether she was there or not. The birthday parties we had at home were always a favourite, and they were usually big to-do affairs. She was known by many names over the years. Some of you will recognise them, some not so much. Dora, I think everyone knows that. Dorothy, Auntie Dorry, Mom, Mooks, Moo, Granny D, and even Baloo, which was from her Cub Scout days. And I'm very happy to see that I see a few faces here from her Cub Scout days. Thank you all for coming. I wasn't sure whether we were going to see any Cub and Scout related faces, but thank you. I see there's quite a few. I really appreciate you being here. Many of these guys have reached out since her passing, and I'm very grateful that she still had ties in that community. Mom was a bush lover and an avid birder. Mom loved game parks, but in particular the Kruger Park. That was her absolute favourite and her happy place. Oh, she could talk for hours about what she saw, where and how and whatever the case may be. And if she started naming birds, we just nod. We'd never heard of them.
Except me.
Except Meg, of course. She had to learn the hard way by teaching Granny a few things while learning at the same time. So much so that her ashes will be spread at Lake Panic in the Kruger Park. This was a wish from actually many years ago. This wasn't a new thing. So we will honour that wish of hers, and we will spread her ashes at Lake Panic like she asked. Even in the end, the last 5 weeks were spent at my house, and her hospital bed that we had for her had to be wheeled in just the right way that she could see the bird bath, the bird feeder, and all the birds that had come. She would force her carer, us, to go and put new food out every day and fruit and everything like that so that we could get the birds to come and say hello. And there really were a number of birds throughout that time, and Mom's view was always towards the bird bath. So she really did get her fill of birding at the end, and we're very grateful that she had this hobby and interest. You'll see there's a handout at the back there on those bookshelves. That's a little bag of birdseed, and one little memory that we want you to take away from this today is go and sprinkle some birdseed around your gardens or whatever and see what comes. And just remember that Dora would have been sitting there like a hawk, watching which birds come when and what they eat and what their natures, what their whole thing is all about. So that birdseed is a tribute to Mom, and we'd appreciate you all going, taking a bag and spreading it wherever you find it necessary. Mom always had dogs. We had dogs as kids. Mom had dogs from when she moved in on her own, and Mom's dogs were always very happy dogs. They were couch dogs, they were lap dogs, they were eat out of your hand dogs. They really were well spoiled and always well looked after. This is special for Daisy, okay? And you can give it to her when you go home.
From Mom today.
Mom had 3 dogs in her new home, Lulu, Belle, and then most recently Daisy May. They were really part of the family, and we cherished them a lot. And Auntie Marlene, very grateful for you for looking after Daisy.
I'm so grateful.
She's in a very happy place. We know she's going to get spoiled, and we really appreciate that you did that for Mom. Spending time with my mom near the end gave us time to speak about things that you don't normally speak about in daily life. You know, very often you won't speak to your parents about death. You won't speak to them about life, about religion, and even about money. Those things are often, left for a later stage. But when is that later stage? And fortunately, I was very frank with Mom, and I made it very clear what was going to happen and what the procedure was. And we spoke about all these important things before she went. And that gave us clarity of what she wanted and what the expectations were and everything like that. And I think that gave her peace, that she'd said her say and that she'd done her thing. And I'm very grateful that we could have that time. Mom was more than these words can express. Fortunately, Lee's got a much better memory than me. And she's going to allude on a few things that I haven't really. I've been very factual and precise. And he's going to be a lot more welcoming and happy about her things. But Mom was a very vibrant, kind, funny and caring lady. She touched our lives, and she touched a lot of people's lives by the look of things. The turnout here today is really a sentiment for that. I think I've said my say. I'm just going to say Mom is with us today. She's in that little brown box. I sprung that on me this afternoon. Let's do a horror.
And a shocking yellow and green paper bag, and I opened it, and there was a box inside, and I opened this paper box, and there was a plastic bag with some dirt in it. And then I got to the wooden box at the bottom, and I realized what was going on.
What I want to say
Very
is,
subtle.
Mom, rest peacefully. You'll be in Lake Panic soon. And we thank you all for coming. He's going to take over and make this a much more pleasurable event.
Thanks, favourite child. So Greg did more of the history, but I was trying to think of some of the themes that reminded me of Mom, and Greg's picked up on a lot of them. But the one thing was Mom was extremely organised. This is how shopping happened in our family. Once a month, 3 days after payday, she would collect Greg and I from school. We would have to go immediately to the Steeldale Pick and Pay hyper. We each got a trolley, and we could not take our time. We wheeled up and down. We were never allowed to throw anything in the trolley. She had her list, and she knew exactly what she was getting. And she never got anything wrong. We never had to top up anything in the middle of the month. If we pushed the trolley well enough, we might get a toasted cheese and pie at the deli afterwards. So that was always the highlight. That monthly shop became the menu for the week. Now, Mondays were mince days. But mince days weren't boring because they alternated between, and in this order, spaghetti bolognese, fricadelle, and cottage pie. There were a few other things that were tried over the years, experimentally, but those were three. Tuesdays were vegetarian days. Mainly macaroni cheese. Remember that, Dale? Wednesday, chicken. Thursday would be another meat, so a lamb chop or some pork, or something like that. And then Friday, my personal favourite, and as a nod to two things, to the fact that on Fridays we had scouts, Cubs and Scouts, but also to our Catholic heritage, was we could have fish and chips. That was the best. And I'm always upset when I was here last, we actually did a drive-by to Manny's and he was closed for the holidays, so that's quite upsetting. Mom needed at least a week's notice if you wanted to go anywhere with her, and she would literally start packing 7 days beforehand. She was always horrified that I was still packing an hour before the flight. But I was very pleasantly surprised at the end, where on a Thursday we made a decision that Pat and Dora would come to Cape Town to visit Lila and I. And she flew on a Saturday and didn't even complain about having that much short notice. So in the end we knew she could do it, and had we have known we might have done even more. Events were meticulously planned. Everything we've done now, I can guarantee you we've missed at least 3 or 4 things that Mom would have remembered. But thank you, Ashley, for making sure that there was our own soap and candles in the bathroom. And you did very well. So enjoy the egg mayonnaise and Miss Lucy, all part of the plan. When you went into her home, her cupboards were incredible. I mean, I've never seen anything so organized. And having the privilege of spending time with Pat, going through the house in the end and bringing her stuff that she needed, she was incredibly specific. So I knew that I had to get the tub of dishcloths for Ashley in the linen closet on the 3rd shelf on the left. And every day that I went back to the house, I had a set of very specific instructions of what needed to come back. And everything was exactly where she said it would be. Mom was kind and very involved. So Greg's spoken about the Boy Scouts and Cubs, and it was such a big part of our childhood. And I think it's often where I think we saw Mom at her best, organising. Frank and I remember the planning. Every term there was a planning meeting, and every single Friday night was planned in 10-minute increments. And I think Mom thrived at that. She thrived on planning the camps and making sure that there was catering for 50 people. It never really fazed her, and it was a very happy time for us as kids. And for me personally, it saved me from having to go to brownies and wearing that hideous brown dress. Speaking of dresses, one of the things Mom was always on at me about was the fact that I did not wear dresses enough, and I certainly didn't wear enough jewelry. So today I made sure that I wore the pearls that she gave me and a dress, and hopefully she'll be happy with that. And I see that Pat also complied, because Pat also doesn't wear dresses very often, and she certainly doesn't wear floral. And, thank you, Pat. Mom would have been very pleased. We were also, as a family, involved in the Knights of Dagama, and that's a Catholic men's organization, but many great friends were made. That's in fact where Mom and Auntie Marlene met, and Uncle Vincent is here today. And Mom was, I remember being involved in traveling dinners and rosaries and all sorts of special events, and it was an incredible community to be a part of. I don't know if there's anyone else here from Knights of Dagama days, but thank you to those that are here. And selfishly, the Knights of Dagama brought me one of my best friends. I'm not going to say oldest, Alison, who's here all the way from the UK today. It's amazing that you could be here with us today, Abby. After Mum retired, she got involved in Kids Haven, and one of the things that she did there was she was a scribe for a boy. I think his name was Liam, all the way, maybe someone remembers, but all the way from when he was in standard 6 through to matric. She sat with him every exam, and I think when he passed matric, it was actually an even bigger deal in her life than when Greg and I cruised through, having studied the night before. So that was something really special that she did. Put your hand up today if you are from Mechalis. There they are. There are lots of them. So Mechalis is the complex where Mom spent her last many years. And she, for a couple of years, I suppose for her sins, because I've done it as well, was a trustee on the body corporate. So made sure she got very involved. And I'm sure there's some good stories to be told, but none of them now yet. But thank you so much. There's for so many of you for coming through. We really, really appreciate it. And while we're talking about Mechalis, I want to call out Brilliant and Stephen at the back. So Brilliant worked with Mom for 8 years and was like a second daughter, well, third daughter after Ashley, to her. And Brilliant, you were so special to Mom. She was so proud of you as a person, of your children and how well they were doing. And I know that you've shared with me how much advice Mom gave you and how she helped you. So we're so happy to have you here. And thank you for being with Mom and being a part of her life. And Stephen, thanks to you. And I'm sure that she was very specific in her instructions to you, but you kept the garden exactly as she wanted it, and it was her biggest joy. I haven't shed many tears, but the day that we took Mom back to her house for the last time, she only managed 2 hours, and she sat in her garden, and it was the only time I actually saw her cry. She was so sad to be leaving her garden. But she made sure that she gave Pat advice on which cuttings to take. Cuttings were taken home, and I think there are many, many gardens that have bits of Dora growing in them, because whenever you went there and admired a plant, you got a cutting and all the relevant advice that went with that. So if you do have some of her garden in your garden, please think of her every time you're in that space, because it was definitely her happy space. In terms of being kind, Mom always gave the most thoughtful gifts. She was also very fair in her gift giving. So, at Christmas, if the budget for Greg and I was 300 Rand, I would get something with a random bar of chocolate thrown in the mix. And that's because Mom would never spend more on Greg than on me, and vice versa. Exactly the same thing happened with the grandchildren. She used to arrive on a Saturday morning and bring one orange, because it was very important for the girls to learn to share. Luckily, you never had to go through that. You always got the whole orange all to yourself. But thoughtful gifts. Even at the end, when she was with her last wishes, she was very specific about what needed to go where. Meg got everything related to the bush and to birding. Amy and Ash had to get pills because they were born in June, and so I gather that must be your birthstone. Honey, who's going to speak later, Honey got a very specific trilogy of books. We're not going to mention what they are. Cecile handed over 2 of her plants to Dora. They were adopted, and 20 years later, they were magnificent and have gone back to their original home. Just last week, Lila went on camp, and the very last gift that Mom gave her was a hiking waist pack, and in it was absolutely everything you could need for hiking and camping. There was a bin bag, there was a sewing kit, I'm not sure we know what to do with it. There was a panado, there were, what else was in there? I mean, it was incredible the amount of thought that she put in. And she also made sure that the multi-tool of hers that Lila had always coveted was in there as well. So, but her very last gift, that thoughtful gift that she wanted to make sure happened was to Greg and to Ash. But because it's all about Greg today, Ash, I'm sorry, but this is actually for Greg. But Mom wanted, because you were so amazing, absolutely amazing. In the last 5 weeks, hang on, I need some help here. That off, thank you. Greg, this is from Mom. It is her wish that you had these. What is that? Okay, Greg's going to get those out. Those of you who might have remembered the house in Edgecombe Road as you went down the passage, amazing. It's not money, it is a collection of teaspoons.
They're going to great chance.
It goes without saying that Mom was incredibly supportive as a mom. I mean, she casted me to numerous Stedfords, English, Afrikaans, poetry, drama, all sorts.
Because he couldn't play sport.
As the family keeps reminding me, I mean, as Greg will tell you later, so I may as well say it before he does, he got the looks and the sporting abilities. A changing moment in my life was deciding that I wanted to become an exchange student. And it was quite a foreign concept at the time. Neither Mom or Dad had even traveled overseas at the time. And they did everything they could to make sure that my dream came true. And it fundamentally changed my life and I think what I did later in life and who I became. And it was only when I became a mom myself that I realized what an incredibly brave and big step it must have been to put your 17-year-old daughter on an aeroplane to deepest, darkest South America in an age where email didn't exist. I don't even think we could fax. And phone calls from Africa to South America were so incredibly expensive. I think I spoke to Mom and Dad about 5 times the entire year that I was away. And it was the most amazing gift that I could have been given. That was over 30 years ago, and just this morning, my host sister from Chile sent me a message about today, so I'm still in contact with them, and they still have a very big part of my life. But Mom and Dad made that happen and helped my dreams come true. Come rain or shine, when I was in Chile, every single Sunday night, Mom wrote a letter. Sometimes I only received them 3 or 4 weeks later. In fact, the postman in the town I lived in, I was the only person in the town with blue eyes. He used to call me Ojos Azules. He would see me and divert when he had a letter from Mom because he knew what a big deal it was in my life. And it was such an antidote to the inevitable homesickness. The one area that Mom was really supportive in, and we failed her, was she really, really wanted Ashley and I to get married. Not to each other, but with all that organizational skill, a wedding would have been really nice. But we never gave her that. But for her 60th, we did make sure we went and got the puffiest,
most meringue-like dresses, had a photo shoot, and gave her exactly what she wanted. Mom was so supportive of her granddaughters with such diverse interests. So Meg, with your birding, Amy with your amazing, your dancing, your art. Holly, okay, like where do I start? Golf, everything that Holly touched, she turns to gold. And Mom was always so proud. Lila, your stories and your cartoons made her so happy. So that support continued down to everyone in the family. Mom was also incredibly capable, only when it suited her. And I'm sure Hanley's talking later from KPMG, but I remember when email came along and Mom was like, not a mood. I am not doing this. This email stuff is not going to happen. I will carry on typing. And then she realized that I was in London and she could actually talk to me every single day. And she very quickly learned to email. But Greg's already spoken about her studying at a later age and the success of her career in those last few years. And I know that Hanley will touch more on that a bit later. But whatever she was involved in, Boy Scouts, body corporate, she was incredibly competent at anything she laid her hands on. She was also very fiery. And in fact, it's why we can swear really well in Afrikaans, because when Mom was very angry, life only happened in Afrikaans. It's shocked a couple of my colleagues. I'm working at Sanlam at the moment, and in their eyes, I'm a complete Royneck. And when I come out with these perler phrases, they're always quite impressed, actually. I think, Pat, you were the last person, I'm not going to say what the phrase was, but to experience one of those beautiful Afrikaans phrases of hers when she was angry. She was also, the fieriness often made me wonder if we maybe have a little bit of Greek in our blood. Angela is her Greek daughter at the back. But Mom would throw stuff. Cecile reminded me of a time where Greg and Daryl had made her so angry because they were jawling too much that she'd thrown a few cups and saucers around. Cecile said, "Hang on, I'm coming in my car to help you throw some more." I remember once sitting at the family kitchen table in the kitchen. We had so many happy hours around that table, but Greg complaining about the meat being a bit tough. And I saw my whole plate slide across as Mom lifted the table and threw the entire table onto the floor. The food, the plates, and everything. Greg had to tidy up. That was followed by at least 5 days of silent treatment, which was her other secret weapon. In the last couple of years, the one fight that never went away was about her smoking, and she won until the very end. She was smoking until 2 days before she left, so I never ever won that argument. Another great joy. Many of you will know how funny Mom was and her sense of humor, often surprisingly naughty. And we've spoken about the late bloomer that she was. She got married at 19, had me at 22, and so landed up doing a lot of the big things for herself later on in life. Okay. But more than anything, Mom loved her tribes. We've spoken, so many of you are here today, so I'm going to start with family. And it's funny that this would be the time. Ashley, thank you for being the most amazing daughter to Mom and the most amazing sister to me. You have no idea how much you've meant in our life and how much your kindness and grace touches us, changes us all the time. We love you so much. And I've mentioned all the girls already, Holly, Amy, Lila, Meg. You were so important to Mom. Then the next tier, her brother Fred. Fred left far too early. But Pat, Daryl are here today. Wendy and Michael, no doubt, are dialing in from Bali and from Australia to share with us. We had so many amazing Christmases and holidays in the bush with you as our family. One of the best parts for Mom of the family was that we got bonus nieces. So Kathy, thank you for being here today. It would have meant the world to Mom. Taryn in Australia, Randa in Bali, that were as much as a part of our family as anyone else. And Daryl, you were definitely Mom's third child, and actually I think you were the favorite. For those of you that don't know Daryl, stand up, Daryl. Daryl lived with us for a couple of years while he was studying in Pretoria, and I actually don't know how Mom, I think I was still at university. We were all studying, and it was a naughty house, and she put up with the three of us in that house for a long time, and there were many stories to be told. Daryl, what she loved the most about you is you would mow the lawn without having to being asked. So you definitely were Mom's favourite, and we're really looking forward to your speech later. I'm joking. Pat, you were thrown together as sister-in-laws, and you couldn't be more opposite, and you couldn't have been closer. Mom so looked forward to her Sunday night calls from you, and every time that she's needed you or you've needed her, you've been there for each other. And we love you, and you are now our matriarch, and sorry for you. You're getting us in the mix. So brace yourself, Sheila. A couple of Mom's cousins are here today. She was always particularly close to Auntie Paula, and her son Dion is here today. We lost Auntie Paula during COVID and miss her so much. Uncle Pierre, and not Auntie Wendy, just Wendy. Thank you so much for all that you were to Mom. Clemma and Jono, you here today. Travis is in the UK. But you are also a very big part of Mum's life. And that was on her mom's side of the family. Today, I met two cousins who are here. We are Laura and Monet. Are also cousins from that side of the family. And Mom would have been incredibly touched that you were here today. So thank you so much for coming. And maybe next time I promise to recognize you, okay? From my dad's side of I actually missed it. Petite and Natalie and Michael, Lindy's in Australia. You were with Mom on her very last day. You were the last people she saw. And I think that was meant to be. Thank you for being such a big part of her life. Uncle Petite, I'm thinking you probably know her longer than anyone. And she loved you like a brother. And thank you for always being there for her. I don't think you know how incredibly important you were to her. Auntie Natalie, I'm not looking at you anymore because you're going to make me cry. Yeah. Okay. From my dad's side of the family, so many wonderful people. Debs and Andre, where are you? Thank you for being here today. And Patrick and Alice, no doubt, are dialed in from Mossel Bay. Lynette, Theo, thank you for coming today to be with Dad. Dad, we're very glad to have you here because, without you, wouldn't be us. All of this is because of you too.
Without you, there'd be no Holly.
Where is Freddie? Pumla. Freddie is at the back. Freddie's standing up. Freddie's mom, Tracy, was our second mom. Gorgo Tracy, we also lost this year. Her and Mom raised us equally sternly, and we were lucky to have, I still remember the night that Freddie was born because Tracy knocked on the back door, and we were 11 and 12 at the time, and Freddie came, and he stayed with us for the first couple of years of his life and was like a little brother. And I don't know, how are you still with Boetie? Thank you, Freddie, for all that you've done for our family as well. So that's family. I know it's a lot, and I know this is getting long. We're near the end. Mom didn't want formality, so if you want to stand up, grab a drink, please do that. Friends from the Knights of Dagama, I've already mentioned. Auntie Cynthia, you'll see pictures of her coming up, was her bridesmaid and her friend for life. We also lost her quite recently. The KPMG ladies, the Mechalis people, I'm just making sure that I get through all the tribes, the scouts. And then, very importantly, is our friends. Because the one thing about 8 Edgecombe Road is that it was always an open house to all our friends. We never had to ask permission for people to come over, to pop in for dinner. It was given. Ellie, you would know that anyone was welcome at any time, and that's how we were raised. So, to Nadine, thank you for being here. Where are Bruce and Tilly? Bruce and Tilly were Mom's other son. Are you right at the back? Please stand up so everyone can see you. They're going to hate me for that. Bruce and Tilly were like sons. In fact, Bruce was one of Mom's first tenants. And Sancha, Mom adored you and loved sharing bird stories with you. Thank you, Angela, for being here. I'm not going to mention all the Meyersdale crowd because Greg should have done that. But Angie and Barry, as Ashley's family and friend, thank you for being here, and we're just so happy to have you in our lives as well.
And Mike Pritchard, who always used to pee on Mom's plants.
And last but not least is Michael Pritchard.
Richard.
We used to go to Mass a lot. I'm going to confess this now because Michael was the youngest of 4 boys, and I always liked to go to Mass on a Saturday night because the Pritchard boys were really cute. And Dad got instructions as to exactly where we had to sit in church so that we could see them. But Mike was also into gardening as well, and he made sure that he watered a lot of Mom's plants regularly after a few drinks. So thanks, Mike and Natalie, for being here today. So I've touched on a lot of themes, and I know it's been a bit long, but how do you make something like this short? And you're never going to cover everything, and you are going to leave stuff out. But bringing it all together to our organized, supportive, kind, fair, capable, fiery, funny, late-blooming, lover of nature and gardening Mom. Your absence will be felt more than you can imagine. But you are with us and in us, and your legacy continues on in the spirited and strong tribe of Duddy women and Greg that you are leaving behind. Okay, thank you.
I landed a bomb in Hunley's lap the other day, and I said, Hunley, would you mind saying a few words on behalf of the people who work with Mom? And I'm sure they're going to tell some stories, and some of them, I'm sure most of them I haven't heard, and hopefully she can shed some new light for us. While she comes up, I just want to tell you a story about Mom. She had 2 significant injuries in her life. The first, she fell off the pavement at the bus stop in Johannesburg. And she phoned me frantically from, I don't know where, someone phoned me from a public phone, and I had to come fetch her immediately. So I picked her up, and I was a trained paramedic, and I said, "Whoa, Mom, this looks bad. We better get you to hospital now." She says, "No, my boy, you're taking me home." I said, "What for? What do you want to go home for?" "I've got to shave my legs and put on clean panties." I said, "Geez, Mom." The other thing that happened, the second injury, which was also significant, she was near retirement age, and KPMG had a little work function at Josie X. And of course, Mom went on one of the big slides, and she slipped and fell between the cushions and broke her shoulder fairly significantly. Needless to say, I got that call again, "Come and fetch Mom." I went and fetched her. This time, I think she had shaved her legs, so it was okay. But thanks, Hunley, for giving us a few of your special memories.
So I'm really happy I also got the dress and the florals right.
Well done.
And yes, so first of all, I think heartfelt condolences to Greg and Lee and Ashley and Dora's beautiful granddaughters, Amy, Meg, Holly and Layla, and all her family and friends celebrating her life today. It's really a great honor to reflect on Dora's life and to celebrate her life. And today is really about some of the special memories that I've got of being Dora's friend. So I brought 2 books that will always remind me of Dora. Now, the first one is this. This is the 1973 Companies Act. And when Dora retired from KPMG, she gave me this Companies Act, and that was in 2015, and I've kept it ever since. It has still got all her markers in it, all the pages that have been highlighted, and it's quite a special book.
And it's from 1973.
Legend, yeah.
Yes. So Dora started her career at KPMG in 1991, and I met her in 1994 when I transferred to the owner-managed business department where Dora worked, and we were colleagues for more than 20 years until her retirement in 2015. So at the back, we've also got Colin and Brian and Cecile, who worked with us in that department. If I remember correctly, Brian, you also interviewed Dora and offered her the position at KPMG. So very good to have you with us today. I was really lucky because Dora was my colleague first of all, but Dora became a dear friend. And throughout the journey of Dora's career at KPMG, I mean, she started as a company secretarial assistant, and at her retirement, she was the senior manager in charge of the department. So she'd progressed really well, and as Greg also mentioned, and I think you also referred to it, Dora actually did a diploma in corporate law in 1999, and she was really able to apply all that knowledge to the services that she provided to KPMG clients. And if you're not familiar with it, I mean, Dora is really the person who would assist clients with filings at the Registrar of Companies, so things like share transactions, changes in directors. Dora was also great in interpreting complex agreements and complex transactions to determine what had to be updated with the Registrar of Companies. Dora was also a very good board secretary and could really do minute taking very well, and was also very effective and efficient in putting board packs together. So it all talks to Dora's planning and the way in which she approached life and also her work. She was a true professional at the office, and she would really always put her clients and her colleagues first. So she was patient, and Dora trained many of the junior colleagues in our organization, and she would take a lot of time to explain the Companies Act and the application thereof. But throughout her career, there was one thing that would always get Dora's blood pressure up. Now, that was when an audit trainee asked Dora if she could perform audit procedures on the statutory records that her team had kept. And Dora would always very sternly comment that I cannot audit my own work, and I suggest you come to the office and you do your own audit procedures. And that was it. It was the standard response, and I think many audit trainees got that response, but hopefully learned something in the process. So I asked a few colleagues who are still with KPMG, who worked with Dora at the time, if they could share some of the memories. And the one I'm actually going to quote, and the colleague said as follows: the one thing that always stood out about Dora was that Dora was always open to learning things about me. I'm different to most people in our business unit, and she always took the time to ask me questions and to learn more about me and my religion. She was a person who truly lived the value of inclusivity. Dora also had the gift of words. She could write poems and riddles, and in our department, she was always the appointed poem writer, speech writer for celebrations, for birthdays, for weddings, and that is really a memory that we'll treasure forever. So I asked another colleague to share some memories, and she did have a few memories. We did laugh a lot, and we reflected on Dora's wit, but we decided some comments I cannot repeat here today because I would blush. So I brought another book. So you might have wondered about the trilogy. Now, this is the book. and this leads me to the section where I'd like to share a few memories of my friend Dora rather than the colleague Dora from her time after retirement. So Dora was naughty, And Dora was fun to be with, and she was also my movie partner. So even when she was in her late 60s, she was keen to go and watch the 50 Shades of Grey movies. We did that, and we would, of course, also have a nice meal and have some wine as part of the outing. So really, really fond memories of the fun and the naughty Dora that I knew. Dora was a true friend. She was always willing to help when someone was in need. So when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, Dora was such a great support to our family. And Dora's taxi actually took my mom to most of her treatments, her radiation treatments. Dora really indulged my mom, who had very strict instructions in terms of how you could drive and not drive. She never said anything. She complied with all the instructions, and Dora really knew very well how to distract my mom from what was really happening and how difficult the situation was. Dora was also a proud granny, and I have so many WhatsApp messages where Dora shared with me updates on mixed studies or on Amy's art, Holly's golfing achievements, and also Lila's writing. And she shared also with me Lila's entry, which I believe secured her a spot as a finalist in a writing competition. So a really proud granny. And you mentioned before that Dora really loved dogs, and we shared that love, and she would never visit our house without a bag of treats for our Nina. She was very happy in the garden, and after her retirement she actually helped us a lot in pruning and just tidying up our garden, and she always had advice and good tips in terms of what to do in the garden. So dearest Dora D, I was blessed to have you as my friend. You had a really special place in my heart. We shared our love for dogs, for wine, of course for the Companies Act, the bush, en ons kon lekker kuier. En ons het altyd in Afrikaans gekuier. So may your memory continue to inspire and uplift us, and as we navigate this world without you. And I'd like to end with a quote by an unknown author. A friend is never truly gone. Their spirit lives on in the memories we hold dear. Thank you.
Huntley gets to inherit the second most valuable thing that my mom owned. Of course, the favourite got the teaspoons, and the boodle is now worth half.
Thanks, Craig.
I'm sorry this is dragging on a bit, but things need to be said. Just give us a minute. The last thing we asked was that the grandchildren, if they liked, could come and say a few words, and I believe they all would like to say something, or have been forced to say something, or have been challenged to say something. So we can ask them to come up. I don't know what order you guys want to follow. Starting with the oldest, maybe. Let's do it in chronological order. And the kids just want to say something, and come, Mix.
Hello everyone, I did not know I was going to be speaking today. Apologies for this. My gran was amazing. We didn't have the greatest relationship. It definitely developed later on in life. But my most vivid memories of her are taking the effort to leave treats in her fairy garden for us every time we came over. And if we surprised her, it would be something in a flora tub that she had recycled. Another one was Amy's dinosaur birthday party. My gran took the time to dissect a chicken in order to have the chicken bone so she could construct a T-Rex skeleton in the sandpit. And she took a lot of pride in that, and when it got disturbed, she was very upset. But yeah, my gran, she didn't always know how to say it or show it, but you never doubted her love for you, and she was always able to express her gratitude in one way or another. She always took time to bring little gifts that she knew you loved. So whenever she came to our house, it was a bowl of chicken liver pate. And her Christmas gifts were always fair, as Screech mentioned. But it was always a magazine about something each grandchild was passionate about, and 50 rand. So that was always appreciated, and always something to look back on and be like, wow, she knew us, even in her own way. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone for coming. It really means the world that so many people showed up, especially my dad's friends. We did not expect all you guys here, so thank you so much, and all the work colleagues. It's so awesome to see everyone. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, I didn't know I was next, but here I am. Okay, so Granny D was my late grandmother. Growing up, when I was sleeping over at her house, when we were visiting, she'd tell me stories for me to go to bed. When I'd be in her garden, she'd put fairies there to intrigue me.
Do you want me to read it for you?
No, it's fine. I got it. When I was in the living room, she'd tell me stuff to make me interested in whatever she was talking about. And when I was coming back from a tennis lesson on the 9th of October, my mom told me that she'd passed away. I was really sad, but I didn't grieve by crying at the time. I was just quiet, and I didn't talk at all at school the next day until my friends got worried. And I only spoke when they asked why I was so quiet. Granny D and I may not have seen eye to eye on everything. Like when she was going to her house, I ran past her and I said, "Morning, Granny," and she said, later on, she said, "You didn't say hi to me," even though I did. And even Uncle Greg told her that I did. And then she said, "Oh, so you did." I may have also been a bit annoyed with her. Sometimes, and at the end of the day, it's nighttime and I'm thinking in my bed that she's old, she doesn't remember things sometimes, and I gotta be patient. I gotta be patient with her. Even if she doesn't know how to activate a dispenser in Minecraft, or doesn't know about AI imaging, she's still your grandma and you gotta love her. Even if it's hard sometimes. Okay. And I think it's common for most kids to take their grandparents for granted, but you don't know how much time you actually do have with them left before they do eventually pass away. I love her to the Milky Way galaxy and back. I think she did a good job raising my mom and my uncle. She wanted respect, and she died with respect. Thanks for listening.
Can you go first? No. Okay. Hello, everyone. Before I begin, 3 times. Okay. I've practiced that a lot, and I keep saying "forgin." Before I begin, I have to say, as Taylor Swift's #1 fan, she really knew what she was doing when she wrote the song Dorothea. Now, I'm not saying Taylor wrote the song for my gran, but the lyrics do hit a little differently today. After all, my gran was the original Dorothea in my life, full of kindness, warmth, and that undeniable charm that makes you feel like you're her favorite person in the world. And let's face it, I was her favorite. And let's be real, Taylor Swift being my favorite artist and Granny D's name being Dorothea, that's not a coincidence. Granny D had impeccable taste, and so did Taylor Swift naming a song after her. As I reflect on our time together, I come to realize how much of who I am today was shaped was shared with me by her. I always thought my love for nature and animals came from my mom. But in the past week of sorting through photos, I realized that it came from her as well. My love for animals, for nature, all those passions that have shaped my life came directly from her. She shared her love for the world around us in such a gentle way that I didn't even realize it until now. Now I see that every creature I care for, every flower I admire, it has its roots in our memories. And while I know each of us had our special moments with Granny D, let's be honest, there's no question that I was her favorite. I mean, she supported every dream, every art project, every dance concert with such love and enthusiasm that you couldn't help but feel like you were her number one. And okay, yes, she had a talent for making everyone feel that way, but I'm just saying it was me. I'm the favorite. Let's not kid ourselves. Granny D wasn't someone who needed to be in the spotlight, but she was always there, quietly making sure she knew she believed in us. Her love wasn't flashy, it was in the little things, the fairy gardens, the stories, the quiet encouragement. That's where her magic lived. Today, as we say goodbye, I'm filled with gratitude for all the ways she touched my life. She gave me the love of nature, of animals, and of believing in the extraordinary. I only wish we'd had more time to share those moments, but I'm thankful for the ones we did have. And to borrow a lyric from Dorothy, it's never too late to come back to my side. Granny D may not be physically here, but she's never too far away. I'll always carry her with me in every little thing she taught me, in the ways she made the world brighter. Rest in peace, Granny D. You'll always be with me in every Taylor Swift song. And yes, I'm still your favorite. And there was someone that was forgotten in the thank yous. Sarah, please can you stand up?
Yes, Gogo.
See. Woo! That's my Gogo Sarah. She's been with us since I can remember. Granny D loved her with all her heart, even though she was sometimes harsh. Sarah was with Granny D for all 5 weeks, especially with Cynthia as well, who couldn't be here today, but we're also very thankful for her. So Sarah, thank you for everything you did with Granny D and Cynthia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, now that the falseness is done, I can be truthful. Now that the least favorite granddaughter is done, hello everyone, I'm Holly, the golfer, also the favorite. Hence why she chose to have a memorial at my golf club. Being able to spend Omar's last few weeks with her was such a blessing. With my very busy schedule growing up, it was very hard to keep in touch with Omar. But when she learned how to use TikTok, it was a new world of communication. From little, Oma always put chockies in her garden and said it was from the fairies. Knowing that she'll be looking over me now is such a privilege. Oma, you are now my new fairy that I know will always look out for me. Oma had never met any of my friends, and it was so special that she got to meet my closest, Julia, Lindo, and Dylan. Thank you all for being so gentle and kind with her. She can now watch us all grow from heaven. While Oma was home, I was writing my prelim exams. Let's just say she was not impressed with my preparations for these exams. After many lectures and being yelled at in Afrikaans and several eye rolls, I can say my Afrikaans has drastically improved. So Granny, in your honor, let me show you how it's done. Oma, soos wat ek vandag hier staan, vier ek jou lewe, vier ons jou lewe. Ek eer jou nagedagtenis, ek beloof om jou liefde en lesse vorentoe te dra in hierdie lewe. Dit sal altyd naby aan my hart bly. Jy is dalk weg, maar jy sal nooit vergeet word nie. Vaarwel, liewe ouma, rus nou sag en vrede totdat ons mekaar weer ontmoet. Baie lief vir ouma.
Wow, that was impressive. I think we're done with the formalities. I think just out of deep respect for Mom, we're going to close in prayer. I've asked Auntie Marlene to say the closing prayer for us. Mom, I hope that was up to your standards. I hope I met all the arrangements that we spoke about. If I didn't, sorry, I'll do it next time. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Auntie Marlene will just close for us in prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Almighty God, we rejoice in your promise of love, joy, and peace. In your mercy, turn the darkness of death into the dawn of a new life, and the sorrow of parting into the joy of heaven. Through our Saviour Jesus Christ, who died, rose, and lives forevermore. Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Please, have some food and have a few dops for Emma.